Hi, everyone. Well, I've watched many presidential addresses to Congress, and Donald Trump's tonight was the most disgusting I've ever heard.
The presidential election of November 5th was a mandate like has not been seen in many decades.
Mandate, he says? Delusional mandate, perhaps. He beat Kamala Harris in the popular vote by 1.4%. In comparison, Joe Biden won by 4.5%, 7 million votes more. Even Hillary Clinton beat him by 3 points in 2016.
We have accomplished more in 43 days than most administrations accomplished in 4 years or 8 years, and we are just getting started.
Accomplished more in 43 days than anyone else has done. Has he not heard of Franklin Delano Roosevelt, the Great Depression, Lincoln, and the Civil War? The man is batshit.
In comparison, under Joe Biden, the worst president in American history,
Joe Biden is the worst president in the history of the United States. Tell that to major historians who last year ranked Biden in 14th place out of 40-some-odd presidents, and Trump at the bottom. But the disrespect he showed the Democrats on the aisle, he kept saying terrible things about them. Of course, his people, his minions on the left, that is to say his left, were cheering him constantly because they're afraid to be primaried when they're running for re-election in 2 years. The point of the matter is he lied. Trump lied repeatedly. Ukraine, for example. In point of fact, he said that we have given much more than the Europeans. The Europeans have given about $100 billion more to Ukraine than the United States. And the United States money, and it was a lot, came back to America because most of the armaments were built in this country. And those companies paid taxes on the money that they were paid to build the weapons that went to Ukraine. Not to mention this ridiculous meeting last Friday where he tried to humiliate Zelensky, who kept his cool, wouldn't back down, but Europe came to his defense, as did most of the free world, and Putin was uncorking champagne. This was exactly the policy that Russia wanted. Trump is a war criminal if he doesn't relinquish his nonsense and his vanity and send the necessary military aid to Ukraine. The disrespect he showed Joe Biden was disgusting and typical of this maniac that is currently the president. But the lies just kept coming. All of the lies about Ukraine and the economy. In point of fact, Biden left Trump with a booming economy. The stock market was booming. Inflation had gone from 9% down to 2.1%. Yes, prices were high, and they remain high, because of COVID, which some of you may not remember. Trump just poo-pooed. It was going to be over by Easter. He made fun of people wearing masks, made fun of Biden because he was campaigning, as people were told to do, indoors until it was a little safer to come out. And indeed, Trump, still the president, got a bad case of COVID toward the end of his term, and it took 2 years for Biden to get a moderate case of COVID. And while it's heartwarming when he points to people in the gallery, just, trying to get applause lines, etc., and some of them, deservedly have suffered, he pointed to a man that was recently freed by the Russians and took personal pride in it. Well, what about the people that were freed during Biden's administration, some of whom were imprisoned during Trump's administration? That was never mentioned, was it? Instead of bringing America together, he divided us even more so. He diminished and negated people of different sensibilities, whether it's politics or whether their sexual orientation, their feelings about history. Everything went out the window because he was playing to a bigoted audience. And I tell you right now, that 1.4% that put him over the top, in particular in the 3 pivotal states, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania, by a very small margin. Those people are more concerned about their grocery prices, very little of which was discussed, and no solutions were offered. Only tariffs which are going to bring up the cost of cars and fuel and lots of things. By God, this was a terrible speech. Most people thought so, except on the Republican side, that idiot Scott Jennings, who's continually saying things about Biden, when Biden again, 14th rated president, Trump the least rated president. Think about that for a moment. And by the way, are your groceries any cheaper?